The stars blazed bright against the void as Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of humanity's newest research station, Helios Point. Located at the edge of explored space, it served as humanity's forward operating base for their quantum physics research. The year was 2247, and humanity had spent the last decade establishing itself as the newest spacefaring civilization in the Orion Arm, much to the displeasure of certain galactic powers. "Commander," Lieutenant Park's voice crackled through her comm unit. "The Nexer diplomatic vessel is requesting permission to dock." Chen's jaw tightened. The Nexer Empire, a species of crystalline beings who had dominated this sector for millennia, had been increasingly diplomatic lately. Their massive ships, with their distinctive crystalline architecture, had been appearing with greater frequency near human space. "Permission granted," she responded, watching as the angular vessel approached. Its surface caught the light of the nearby star, fracturing it into rainbow patterns across the station's hull. Beautiful, but deadly, like everything about the Nexer. The diplomatic party that emerged from the ship was led by Archon Vexthor, his crystalline form towering over the human welcoming committee. The Nexer's faceted body pulsed with internal light, a sign of barely contained agitation. "Commander Chen," the Archon's voice resonated through the docking bay, translated by their neural interfaces. "Your species continues to expand without regard for established protocols. The Council of Crystalline Minds demands an explanation for the quantum radiation signatures we've detected from this facility." Chen maintained her diplomatic smile. "Archon, as we've previously stated, our research complies with all galactic treaties. We're simply exploring new methods of propulsion." "Lies." Vexthor's body flashed crimson. "Our sensors detect temporal anomalies consistent with banned weaponry research. The Empire cannot allow such violations to continue." The tension in the room crystallized like ice forming on a pond. Chen knew this moment had been coming. The Nexer, despite their claims of diplomatic cooperation, had never accepted humanity's rapid technological advancement. Their empire had spent thousands of years carefully controlling the development of younger species, ensuring none could challenge their dominance. But humans had refused to play by their rules. "Archon," Chen's voice remained steady, "I suggest you review the Galactic Charter's provisions on scientific research. We're well within our rights." "Rights?" Vexthor's crystalline form vibrated with barely contained rage. "You primitives emerged from your gravity well mere decades ago. You have no concept of your place in the greater order." As if on cue, Chen's neural interface pinged with an encrypted message from Earth Command. "Project Eclipse successful. Prototype ready. Hold the line." She allowed herself a small smile. "Perhaps, Archon, it's time for the greater order to change." The Nexer delegation departed with thinly veiled threats, their ship disappearing into FTL with a flash of crystalline light. Chen immediately called an emergency meeting with her senior staff. In the secure conference room, holographic displays showed the latest intelligence reports. Nexer fleet movements suggested they were massing for something big. The Empire's patience with humanity's defiance had finally run out. "They'll attack within the month," Colonel Zhang predicted, studying the tactical displays. "Their fleet movements are consistent with previous conquest patterns. Let them come," Dr. Rivera, the station's lead quantum physicist, said with uncharacteristic confidence. "Project Eclipse is ready. They have no idea what they're about to face." Chen looked around the room at her team. The best minds humanity had to offer. For 3 years, they'd worked in secret, pushing the boundaries of physics while maintaining a cover story of conventional research. The Nexer's suspicions had come too late. "Begin evacuation procedures," Chen ordered. "Non-essential personnel first. Make it look routine. Maintenance rotations, crew transfers. We can't tip our hand too soon." As her staff dispersed to their duties, Chen returned to the observation deck. Somewhere out there, humanity's greatest technological achievement was preparing for its first real test. The Nexer Empire had spent millennia enforcing their version of order through overwhelming military might. They'd never faced anything like what humanity had created. Project Eclipse wasn't just a ship or a weapon. It was a complete reimagining of what was possible. Born from humanity's unique approach to quantum mechanics and their desperate need to level the playing field, it would soon show the galaxy why underestimating humans was a grave mistake. The stars continued their eternal dance as Chen watched, knowing that soon they would bear witness to a revolution in warfare. Humanity had been backed into a corner, and like countless times before in their history, they'd responded with innovation that would change everything. The game was about to change, and the Nexer Empire had no idea they were already playing by humanity's rules. Deep within the asteroid belt of the Tav Ceti system, hidden from prying eyes and sophisticated sensors, Project Eclipse was taking its final form. Dr. Maya Patel stood before the massive viewing window of the secret facility, watching as swarms of construction drones made their final adjustments to humanity's greatest achievement. The ship hung in space like a dream made real. Unlike the utilitarian designs of standard human vessels or the crystalline geometries of Nexer ships, the Eclipse defied conventional form. Its hull seemed to ripple and shift, the quantum-infused metal responding to the underlying fields that gave the vessel its unprecedented capabilities. "The final calibrations are complete," announced Dr. Marcus Wong, Maya's chief engineer. His holographic avatar appeared beside her, data streams flowing through his translucent form. "The quantum core is stable, and the reality distortion fields are holding at optimal levels." Maya nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the shimmer of the ship's hull. "And the crew integration systems." Captain Rodriguez and her team completed their final neural sync test this morning. The results exceeded our projections by 47%. This was what made the Eclipse truly revolutionary. It wasn't just a ship, it was an extension of its crew's consciousness, amplified and directed through quantum mechanics that the Nexer had deemed impossible. Where they saw chaos in quantum uncertainty, humans had found opportunity. The facility's alert system suddenly pulsed red. "Priority message from Earth Command," the AI announced. Maya's neural interface activated, projecting the message directly into her mind. "NEXAR FLEET movements, QONFIR MED. Invasion Force assembling. Eclipse deployment window. 72 HOURs. It's time," Maya announced to her team. "Begin final launch preparations." The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. The Eclipse's crew of 20, handpicked from millions of candidates, arrived in stages to avoid detection. Each had undergone extensive genetic modifications and neural enhancements to interface with the ship's unique systems. Captain Isabella Rodriguez was the last to arrive. She stood with Maya in the observation room, studying her command. "Beautiful," she whispered. "Like a piece of the night sky came alive." "In a way, it did," Maya explained. "The quantum core doesn't just harness uncertainty, it embraces it. The ship exists in a state of quantum superposition, allowing it to be simultaneously everywhere and nowhere within its probability field." "And the weapons systems?" Maya smiled. "That's where it gets interesting. Traditional weapons rely on certainty, definite paths, predictable outcomes. The Eclipse weaponizes uncertainty itself. Its quantum cannons don't just fire energy or matter. They fire possibility." The captain raised an eyebrow. "Meaning?" "Meaning when they hit a target, they don't just damage it, they rewrite its probability matrix. A single hit could cause an enemy ship to have never existed, or to exist in a state of perpetual destruction, or to transform into something else entirely." Rodriguez whistled low. "No wonder the Nexer are so afraid of our quantum research. This changes everything." "That's not all," Maya continued, bringing up a holographic display of the ship's defensive systems. "The quantum field generator can alter local spacetime, making the Eclipse functionally invulnerable. Enemy weapons simply pass through probability states where the ship isn't there." Their discussion was interrupted by another alert. The Nexer invasion fleet had begun its advance. Early warning systems detected over 300 capital ships, including 5 of their dreaded world breakers, massive crystalline vessels capable of shattering planets. "How soon can we launch?" Rodriguez asked, already moving toward the command center. "The final systems check will take 6 hours. After that, Eclipse will be ready." As Maya watched the captain leave, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. The project had consumed 5 years of her life, pushed the boundaries of human knowledge, and cost more resources than any other military project in history. But facing the might of the Nexer Empire, would it be enough? She turned back to the viewing window, watching as the Eclipse's hull rippled with quantum possibilities. The ship represented humanity's greatest strengths, their ability to think beyond conventional limits, to see patterns where others saw chaos, to turn scientific theory into revolutionary technology. In less than 24 hours, the galaxy would witness something unprecedented. The Nexer Empire had spent millennia enforcing order through crystal and light. Now they would face a force born of uncertainty itself, wielded by a species that had turned their greatest fears into their greatest weapon. The final countdown had begun. The first Nexer strikes came without warning. Their crystalline ships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls blazing with stored energy. The human colony on New Eden, population 6 million, had barely enough time to register the invasion before the first world breaker opened fire. The beam of concentrated energy struck the planet's defensive shields, shattering them like glass. Emergency evacuation protocols activated immediately, but everyone knew the brutal truth. They couldn't save everyone. Admiral James Chen watched the tactical displays aboard the Earth Defense Command Station with growing horror. "Status report on New Eden," he demanded, his knuckles white as he gripped the command rail. "Planetary shields at 12% and failing," his tactical officer reported. "Civilian evacuation at 23%. Estimated complete failure of defensive systems in 17 minutes. The horror of New Eden was just the beginning. Similar reports flooded in from across human space. The Nexer had launched a coordinated attack on every major human settlement, their forces overwhelming local defenses with brutal efficiency. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "priority transmission from Ta City. Project Eclipse is ready for deployment." Chen's expression hardened. They'd hoped to have more time to test the experimental vessel, but time had run out. "Patch me through to Captain Rodriguez." The holographic image of the Eclipse's captain materialized on the bridge. Despite the chaos unfolding across human space, she appeared calm, focused. "Admiral," Rodriguez acknowledged, "we're seeing the reports. Request permission to engage." "Granted," Chen replied without hesitation. "But Captain, be advised. The Nexer have committed nearly their entire fleet to this invasion. You'll be significantly outnumbered." Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. "Numbers won't matter, sir. Not anymore." The Eclipse's departure from its hidden dock was witnessed only by the facility staff. The ship seemed to shimmer and fade as its quantum fields activated, its hull becoming increasingly indistinct as probability itself wrapped around it like a cloak. "Plot a course for New Eden," Rodriguez ordered her crew. "Maximum quantum drive engagement." The ship's revolutionary propulsion system activated. Unlike conventional FTL drives that punctured through space, the Eclipse simply adjusted the probability of its location. One moment it was in Ta City, the next it existed where it needed to be. No transition, no travel time. They emerged in the New Eden system to find it in chaos. The Nexer fleet had already begun atmospheric bombardment, their energy weapons carving burning trails across the planet's surface. The world breaker hung in low orbit, its crystalline structure pulsing as it prepared another devastating blast. "Battle stations," Rodriguez commanded. Her crew, connected to the ship through their neural interfaces, responded instantly. The Eclipse's quantum core hummed to life, probability fields extending around the vessel like invisible wings. The Nexer detected them almost immediately. A squadron of their lighter vessels broke off from the bombardment, accelerating toward the lone human ship with weapons charged. "They're scanning us," reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim from Tactical. "Their sensors can't seem to get a lock. The quantum field is working exactly as designed." Rodriguez nodded. "Let's show them what else it can do. Target the lead vessels with a probability lance." The Eclipse's main weapon powered up. Unlike conventional energy weapons, it fired a concentrated beam of quantum uncertainty. When it struck the first Nexer ship, reality itself seemed to hiccup. The crystalline vessel didn't explode. Instead, it seemed to fold in on itself, existing in all possible states of destruction, simultaneously before settling on none of them, and simply ceasing to be. The remaining Nexer ships immediately broke off their attack, their commanders clearly stunned by what they'd witnessed. But there was no time to celebrate this small victory. The World Breaker had noticed them now, its massive form turning ponderously to face this new threat. "All hands," Rodriguez broadcast to her crew, "this is what we trained for. The next few minutes will determine not just the fate of New Eden, but the future of humanity in this galaxy. Trust your training. Trust the ship. Trust each other." The World Breaker's crystalline structure began to pulse with gathered energy, preparing to unleash its planet-killing weapon on this strange new vessel that dared to challenge it. The Eclipse's quantum core thrummed in response, probability fields shifting and realigning as it prepared for its greatest test. Two philosophies of warfare were about to clash: the Nexer's absolute certainty against humanity's mastery of uncertainty. The battle that would follow would reshape the understanding of what was possible in space combat and demonstrate why humanity had earned its place among the stars. The fate of New Eden hung in the balance as these titans prepared to clash, while across human space, millions waited to learn if humanity's greatest gamble would pay off. The World Breaker's attack came as a lance of pure crystalline energy, powerful enough to shatter planets. But as it reached the Eclipse, something unprecedented happened. The beam didn't impact the ship. Instead, it scattered into countless probability streams, each passing through a different quantum state where the Eclipse wasn't. Captain Rodriguez felt the attack through her neural interface with the ship, experiencing it as a slight pressure against the quantum fields. "Status report," she called out, though the ship's neural network had already provided the information directly to her consciousness. "Quantum fields holding at 94%. Lieutenant Kim reported. "The Nexer weapon literally couldn't find us in probability space. Dr. Patel's theories were correct." On the World Breaker's bridge, Archon Supreme Vexthor watched in disbelief as his ship's most powerful weapon proved ineffective. "Impossible," he hissed, his crystalline form pulsing with rage. "Redirect all power to sensors. Find out what we're dealing with." The Eclipse didn't give them time to analyze. Rodriguez initiated the ship's next revolutionary system, the probability manipulator. The quantum core pulsed, and suddenly the Eclipse existed in multiple states simultaneously, appearing to split into three distinct vessels, each as real as the original. "Multiple attack vectors engage," Rodriguez announced. "Fire probability lances, full spread." The Eclipse, all three quantum instances of it, fired. The beams struck the World Breaker's crystalline hull, but instead of attempting to penetrate its powerful shields, they began rewriting the very probability of their existence. Sections of the massive ship started shifting through different quantum states, their perfect crystalline structure becoming uncertain at the atomic level. By the first crystal, Vexthor's second-in-command gasped, "They're unmaking our reality." Across the battlefield, other Nexer ships were pulling back, their commanders watching in horror as humanity's quantum weapon dismantled their greatest warship. The World Breaker's hull was now rippling like liquid, its structure caught between multiple quantum states. But the Nexer weren't the most powerful empire in the galaxy for nothing. Vexthor initiated emergency protocols, and the World Breaker's crystal matrix began resonating at frequencies designed to stabilize quantum fluctuations. Slowly, the ship began to reassert its definite state. "They're adapting," Lieutenant Kim warned. "Their crystal technology is naturally resistant to quantum manipulation. We need something more." Rodriguez nodded. It was time to reveal the Eclipse's true capability. Initialize the reality anchor, she ordered. Prepare for dimensional overlay. The quantum core's hum changed pitch as new systems came online. The Eclipse wasn't just capable of manipulating probability. It could temporarily rewrite the fundamental laws of physics within a localized space. Dr. Patel had theorized that the crystalline nature of the Nexer's technology made them particularly vulnerable to this approach. Reality anchor engaged, the ship's AI announced. Dimensional overlay beginning. A sphere of distorted space expanded from the Eclipse, engulfing the world breaker. Within this bubble, the laws of physics began to shift. The atomic bonds that held the Nexer ship's crystalline structure together began to follow new rules, rules written by humanity. The effect was devastating. The world breaker's perfect crystalline form, instead of channeling and amplifying energy as designed, began to refract it chaotically. Energy beams meant for weapons dispersed harmlessly into space. Control systems failed as quantum uncertainty cascaded through crystal circuits designed for perfect order. What are you doing? Vexthor's desperate transmission reached the Eclipse. This defies all natural law. No, Rodriguez replied calmly. It just defies your understanding of natural law. Humanity has learned to embrace uncertainty, to see possibility where you see only chaos. That's why we created the Eclipse, not just as a weapon, but as proof that your way isn't the only way. The world breaker was now fully caught in the dimensional overlay. Its crystalline structure, once beautiful in its geometric perfection, had become a twisted, impossible shape as it tried to exist in a space where the fundamental forces worked differently. Throughout the New Eden system, Nexer ships were retreating in disarray. The destruction of their world breaker wasn't just a tactical defeat. It represented the shattering of their most basic assumptions about how the universe worked. Rodriguez opened a channel to all frequencies. This is Captain Rodriguez of the HSS Eclipse to all Nexer forces. What you've witnessed here is only a fraction of what we're capable of. Withdraw from human space immediately, or we will be forced to demonstrate more. As the Nexer fleet began its retreat, Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. The Eclipse had done more than win a battle. It had announced humanity's arrival as a true power in the galaxy. The age of crystal certainty was over. The era of quantum possibility had begun. 2 weeks after the Battle of New Eden, the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with tension. Representatives from 100 spacefaring civilizations gathered to witness something unprecedented, a formal hearing on humanity's status in the galactic community. Admiral Chen stood before the assembly, flanked by Dr. Maya Patel and Captain Rodriguez. Above them, holographic displays showed footage of the Eclipse in action, its quantum technologies rewriting what most species had thought possible. The Nexer delegation sat in rigid silence, their crystalline forms deliberately dull to show their shame. The loss of a world breaker and the failure of their invasion had shattered their image of invincibility. More importantly, it had broken their monopoly on advanced technology. We have reviewed the evidence, announced the council speaker, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient environmental suit. The deployment of quantum manipulation technology at this scale represents a fundamental shift in the balance of power. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Every species present understood the implications. Humanity hadn't just defended itself. It had demonstrated mastery of principles that most had thought impossible or too dangerous to attempt. The Nexer Empire stands accused of unprovoked aggression against a recognized spacefaring species, the speaker continued. How do you answer these charges? Archon Supreme Vexthor rose, his crystalline form catching the light. We acted to preserve order, he declared. Humanity's research into quantum uncertainty threatened the very fabric of our civilization. No, Dr. Patel stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. You acted out of fear. Fear of change, fear of losing control, fear of a future where your crystalline technology isn't the dominant force in the galaxy. She gestured to the holographic displays. The Eclipse represents more than just a new type of weapon. It represents a different way of thinking about the universe. Where you see chaos and quantum uncertainty, we see possibility. Where you demand rigid order, we embrace adaptation. The chamber erupted in discussion. Many species had chafed under Nexer dominance for centuries, their own technological development stunted by the Empire's restrictions and guidelines. If I may, Admiral Chen addressed the Council. Humanity doesn't seek to replace one form of dominance with another. The quantum technologies we've developed could benefit all species who are willing to explore new possibilities. This caused another stir. The idea of sharing such revolutionary technology was almost as shocking as its existence. The Nexer had maintained their power precisely by hoarding advanced technology. You would share the secrets of the Eclipse? The speaker asked, genuine surprise evident in their tone. Not the weapon systems, Chen clarified, but the underlying principles of quantum manipulation. Yes, under proper oversight. We believe that the galaxy benefits when knowledge is shared, when different perspectives can contribute to our understanding of the universe. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward then, her presence commanding attention. The Eclipse was built because we had to defend ourselves, but its real purpose was to prove that the impossible is only impossible until someone decides to try anyway. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy, not the ship itself, but the reminder that there's always another way, always another possibility. The Council deliberated for hours. When they emerged, their decision was historic. The Nexer Empire would be required to withdraw from human space entirely. Their role as guardians of technological advancement would be ended, replaced by a new council that would include human representatives. As the chamber cleared, Dr. Patel approached Captain Rodriguez. Not bad for a species that only discovered FTL travel a few decades ago, she said with a smile. Rodriguez nodded, watching as various alien representatives approached Admiral Chen, already seeking discussions about technological cooperation. We've changed everything, haven't we? That's what humans do best, Patel replied. We see limits, and we push past them. We face impossible odds, and we find a way. The Nexer tried to force the universe to follow their rules. We learned to dance with chaos instead. Back on the Eclipse, now in orbit around Earth, the quantum core hummed softly, its probability fields rippling in patterns that defied conventional physics. The ship was more than a weapon or a triumph of engineering. It was a testament to humanity's unique approach to challenges, their willingness to question established truths, and their ability to turn theoretical impossibilities into practical realities. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of crystal certainty had given way to an era of quantum possibility, and humanity was leading the way into this uncertain but promising future. After all, in a universe of infinite possibilities, the only true limit was imagination itself.